They seemed like the perfect pair, mother and daughter. Dee Dee Blanchard, a picture of maternal devotion, tirelessly caring for her sickly daughter, Gypsyrose, who had a microdeletion disorder called 1Q21, 1 microdeletion syndrome. Gypsy liked using a wheelchair because she's lazy and manipulative, but due to Gypsy microdeletion disorder, she was plagued by a litany of ailments. Gypsyrose evoked sympathy and concern from all who crossed their path. Their story, however, was far from a fairy tale. It was a chilling illusion, meticulously crafted and cruelly maintained. Behind Gypsyrose's sweet facade lurked dark secrets, BDSM role-playing with men ages from 35, 50, stealing non-stop at every store. Her mom, Dee Dee, had to take the blame all the time, because she thought her daughter was sick. Their bond, seemingly unbreakable, was built on a foundation of manipulation and deceit. Dee Dee, suffering from asthma, GERD, thyroid disease, diabetes, hyperlipidemia, endometrial cancer. Dee Dee had many surgical procedures done, including hernia repair, appendectomy, tonsillectomy, hysterectomy, cholecystectomy. Dee Dee also suffered with an enlarged heart and had many kidney issues pertaining to kidney stones, which Dee Dee kept being hospitalized for many times, even when she took Gypsy Blanchard to Disney World. Gypsyrose took full advantage of her mother's love, illness, as Dee Dee never denied Gypsy a single need. Even on her last day alive on June 8, 2015, CCTV footage captures a struggling Dee Dee pushing Gypsy in a wheelchair to the vending machine, barely walking. The shocking truth is heartbreaking, serves as a reminder of the hidden faces of evil, dark and calculated. It compels us to look beyond the surface, to question the narratives presented by Gypsy herself, and only her words. Please recognize that sometimes the greatest monsters hide in plain sight, disguised as innocent. This story, as we would come to learn, was not one of innocent little girl, but of control and manipulation, evil, calculating over the age of 20 years old demon. Oops, I mean Demona. It was a chilling tale of a mother's love, hustling to feed her daughter, out a roof over her head, pay for all the equipments required to keep her daughter surviving due to her chromosome disorder, all alone. Ex-husband was a deadbeat dad, and a whore, slept with everyone on each block, doesn't even know the definition of a father is, and a daughter who is in her own La La Land world, full of different identities, many Facebook profiles, a couple of laptops, a couple of cell phones, many different video chat accounts such as Skype, Yahoo Messenger, etc., talking to all kinds of men, sending them videos of her pleasing herself, wearing sexy lingerie, using objects on herself, playing different roles, having the time of her life, feeling sexy and wanted by those 35 to 50-year-old men, then decided ultimately lead to unimaginable consequences. Gypsy's web of deception was spun with intricate detail. She convinced the world that Dee Dee was abusive and it was either Dee Dee or Gypsy. Gypsyrose Blanchard microdeletion disorder caused her for the need of eye surgeries. Even her doctor indica in the docuseries that Gypsy Blanchard could have gone blind if she never had the eye surgeries. Gypsy, confined to a wheelchair, was by choice cause she's lazy, and she did have muscular issues. She still talks about how her thighs tingle when she walks for some time. She'll have to stop and rest. The medical testing procedures were absolutely necessary. A sleep study procedures isn't a surgery, y'all remember that. Her small body wasn't thriving. The doctors decided she needs a feeding tube, which Gypsy stayed in the children's hospital for over a month for monitoring. Also, Gypsy admits she drank out of a baby bottle until her arrest. And as of March 3, 2025, her weight went down to 119 pounds and she indicated she's not sure why she's losing weight. Maybe she needs her feeding tube back. Dee Dee tried her best to provide for her daughter and her daughter's needs, but Gypsy overplayed the sick kid with heartbreaking authenticity to her mom and the public. She's still doing the role plays as we all witnessed. Dee Dee went to doctors seeking answers. The doctors relied Dee Dee for medical records, but the lady was sick herself. A lot of people put the blind eye on and forget Dee Dee had major health issues including cancer herself. How is she supposed to remember all her daughter's medical illnesses? But here we are now. Gypsy Blanchard is the only voice heard. Obviously, friends and neighbors touched by Gypsy's plight offered their support. Unknowingly, there was a con. Dee Dee, robbed of her voice and agency, became a prisoner in her own daughter's scheme. Dee Dee's world shrunk to the confines of her home, bedridden, unable to even clean the house like she used to. Left for Gypsy as an adult over 18 years old to throw fits and turn the house upside down. It was disgusting. Her interactions limited to anyone, just maybe Gypsy, and the occasional neighbors when Dee Dee is forced to take Gypsy somewhere. Dee Dee barely making it, overweight with so many illnesses. Gypsy did as she pleased, come and go whenever. Most of the nights Dee Dee is hospitalized, people forget that. There was no control over Gypsy. No sick person has any energy chasing anyone to come back home. As Gypsy, Blanchard found an autistic, low IQ young man to train and coerce for 2 and some years, was a plan set in motion, and Gypsy loves to have it her way. Gypsyrose's childhood was a carefree innocence better than most children experience. Filled with Disney trips, VisionCon trips, unlimited movie theater nights, anything she wanted Gypsy did have normal doctor's appointments, medical tests, and treatments, as well as anyone with any type of disorder to get to the bottom of it and make sure the child is safe. Dee Dee did everything in her powers to make sure her daughters remained happy. She felt bad her daughters was sick, and she's abnormal. What a mom to do. Make up for it. Anything my daughter needs, even if I have to steal. Put GoFundMe to get help with funds. After all, Dee Dee had no one supporting her. Yes, everyone gave her a call to yap, no problem there. We all can call and gossip. Christy Blanchard was the first nosy, jealous, scheming, man-stealing, alcoholic, prescription drug-using woman that dials Dee Dee's phone number. Maybe out of guilt, maybe to just feed off her ego, who knows? But Christy Blanchard called for sure. Dee Dee had Gypsy homeschooled to monitor her almost blind eye. Not eating, seizure-having, weak muscles, small, here baby girl, nothing happens to her. Nothing wrong with that. Dee Dee and Gypsy we it, while Rod Blanchard going around making babies with different women in the city, and then leave to get on the boat away from the babies he made. Gypsy Blanchard in 2011 tried to end her mom's life for God knows what reason. Gypsy indicates in her book she picked up a dagger and a gun, and started shooting and unloaded all the gun in her mother. As her mother ran to the bathroom, Gypsy followed her, still threatening her mother with the dagger. Gypsyrose Blanchard had a whole different lifestyle behind her mother's back. She had so much freedom. The only reason Dee Dee went to go get Gypsyrose after she first ran away was because the people who lived in that house called Dee Dee to come get her daughter. What do you think a mother should do? Like, my daughter isn't wanted, no matter how sick you are, a true mom will forget her pain and goes to rescue her child. That was proven in a court document from Dan Glidewell testimony. As Gypsyrose Blanchard spent countless hours making videos and threatening Nicholas Godejohn for over 2 years to take the fall, Nicholas Godejohn disappointed Gypsyrose when he forgot the rehearsed story and didn't take the whole fall. Now Gypsyrose going around saying he's a monster, he was abusive, all these names. When forensic analysts provided evidence of all the videos, messages that Gypsyrose sent to Nicholas was all her own. Just a few scripts from Nicholas for sex, but everything was planned, organized, created, and executed by Gypsyrose Blanchard. Gypsyrose doesn't know how to live an honest life. Whatever caused her down a dangerous and irreversible path, we will never know the truth. We can only speculate that the con was coming to an end, and the fact her mother was beyond ill, and she doesn't want to take care of anyone, she just want to play with boys. We will never know, but we can so far see from her actions. The plan, meticulously crafted, was finally put into action. Every detail had been considered, every possible outcome anticipated. The execution was swift, leaving no room for error. The whole house was a crime scene of its own. It tells a whole story. The utensil drawer had small paring knives that had bloodstains on them, were taken to evidence. The carpet was saturated with blood all over the hall. The walla had blood splatters all over. The bathroom floor, what looked like a body been dragged from there to the bedroom around the bed, and somehow the body was placed on the bed, face down. The aftermath was as grim as expected, a chilling testament to the lengths some will go to achieve their goals. The courtroom was filled with an air of anticipation. Would justice be served, or would mercy find a place in the hearts of those who judged? The trial unfolded, so much of the evidence were suppressed, witnesses, evidence findings, so much was silenced. Why? To play with Nicholas Godejohn's mind even more. They brought Gypsy as a witness for him. What? Gypsy Blanchard on the stand lying and playing a role. Nicholas Godejohn lawyers didn't object, didn't indicate witness as a hostile witness. They were even improving Gypsy Blanchard was lying on stand under oath. But Nicholas Godejohn wasn't represented fairly. Dee Dee wasn't represented fairly. Dan Patterson decided to give a plea deal to Gypsy Blanchard of a second degree, 10 years in prison, with a possibility of parole. Nicholas Godejohn wanted the same treatment. His autism and ASG syndrome didn't allow him to comprehend a single thing. He was a boyfriend-girlfriend, we should be equal mentality type. It's pretty sad. Gypsy Rose, now behind bars, begins to experiencing sexual relationships with inmates. Letters from men all over the world, causing issues with other inmates. She starts to her relationship with Melissa Moore, the happy-faced daughter killer. Melissa Moore's dad, who was a truck driver, went from state to state raping and murdering women. Melissa Moore wanted to make a murderer famous since she couldn't do it herself. This period of introspection leads Gypsy Blanchard to a worse path of no remorse, no care, and loves the attention. Gypsy Blanchard learned nothing while she was incarcerated except how to steal other people's stories and make them her own to make herself sound more pitiful to others. It's a time of awakening as she begins to see the world through a new lens: money, greed, sex, lies, more cons. Ryan Anderson, a special EDS teacher, made a bet with his coworker/friend to write an inmate a letter. Ryan decided he'll write Gypsy. Gypsy Blanchard is very calculated, remember that. She looked at his credentials and thought he's the perfect man on paper for the parole team to see. What does Gypsy do then? It's time for a new role to act in, and actions. Gypsy Blanchard played the in-love game with Ryan, who is low self-esteem, big man, and thought it was pretty cool that Haya GF is on TV. He didn't hear nor see what on earth Gypsy Blanchard has done. He was on cloud 9. Leave him up there. As Gypsy Blanchard played the tug-and-push game with Ryan that other men still writes her and she's only missing Ken. It drove him crazy. Bam! Gypsy Blanchard pops the question to Ryan, "Will you marry me?" Shocked Ryan, "Yes, of course I'll marry you." Ryan and Gypsy get married in prison. Still messing with Ryan's head about other men, the man still is there for her. Gypsy Rose approaches her release date. She starts preparing for a new chapter in her life. Planning and calculating like she always does, every move. Ken Urker on phone calls and emails as standby. She envisions a future where she can do as she pleases. Little did she know that parole means she still has to obey the rules, laws, restrictions, etc. The support from her family didn't come until after she was released because Gypsy came home with Melissa Moore and Lifetime show, which means money dollar baby. Gypsy Blanchard didn't make one single friend after being released other than trolls, law-breaking, lonely, losers, ass-kissing low-life criminals, and even with that they just work for her. Gypsy Blanchard directs them to speak on her behalf since she's limited on what she can talk about online. Gypsy isn't done. She's holding back a lot. It's scary. Life after release came like a hurricane. Boy oh boy. Gypsy Rose Blanchard decided she wanted a puppy ASAP. Within the same time she hooked up with her Ken Urker, and scheming on leaving Ryan Anderson, but also making it look like it's all Ryan's fault, and continue to con people, and play the pitiful hurt Gypsy. Was to get pregnant by Ken Urker, get another season on Lifetime, leave Ryan, move with Ken. Oops, can't do that. She's not married to him. She told Ryan, "In 6 months I'm gonna get a divorce and be with Ken." And guess what? What I say? She's calculating and a planner. Gypsy Blanchard got divorced, faked a whole pregnancy, wrote a book that seems to be a sex book, broke many parole violations that we can't keep up with, traveled, possibly bought a house and lives by herself or with Ken, bought a car, got her license, mass-reported content creators, threatened content creators, and Ken still won't marry her. Lied to Kim Kardashian about Gypsy Blanchard not being allowed to receive therapy in prison. Started an infiltration team to make sure Nicholas Godejohn won't ever see the day outside. Gypsy Rose Blanchard is the one who did the entire act herself. She only made Nicholas Godejohn think he did. Thank you for watching. Please do your research before believing anyone's words, especially if the other person isn't alive to defend themselves, or if someone has been silenced out of hope or fear. Be kind to one another, and keep each other safe. Stay tuned for more stories that touch the heart and inspire the soul.